Hey there! Happy Sunday, friends, lovers.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Happy Bunny Day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Robert's not hearing well lately, so he added extra ears.
Well, that was fun.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And it is Easter Sunday, April 12th, 2020.
Yes.
The 103rd day. We've made it 100 days into 2020.
Wow.
The 103rd day of the year. 257 days until Christmas. 202 days until
Halloween.
Halloween.
Can't wait.
Thank you for joining us. On this day, the Civil War began.
Oh, neat.
The Confederates fired on Fort Sumter on this day in 1961, starting a war that ran through May 9th, 1865. Interesting fact about the battle at Fort Sumter, nobody was killed. Until the surrender, they held a 100-gun salute. The Confederates made that happen. And unfortunately, 2 Union soldiers were killed in an artillery accident. But more importantly, on this day in history, in 1954, Bill Haley and his Comets recorded Rock Around the Clock.
Nice. Nice swing beat to it.
That's right.
Can do an East Coast swing to it. It's a good song.
And today is a holiday.
Yes, it's Bunny Day.
No, it's National Licorice Day.
Oh, excellent.
Since 2004, it has been National Licorice Day. So we have Twizzlers, because I know you like red licorice.
Yeah.
And I think you like red vines even more.
I do. Makes my mouth happy.
But we have my personal favorite, the original American Licorice Company Snaps.
Yes.
They don't make these anymore, but they re-release them for a limited time every year or two. So when you can get them, get them. Good stuff. And it is, of course, Easter Sunday.
Yes, and I'm wearing my Easter hat.
That's right.
For our members of our page, 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir, you got a sneak preview. And you'll notice that it has a beautiful white plume of freedom.
That's right.
Let me know if you know where that is, what that is referencing. White plume of freedom.
That's right.
And I'll give you a hug after all this.
Where else do you get these magnificent hats? I think our average hat per show or per episode, it would be one, but you've had an array of magnificent hats already.
Real quick, I didn't talk about it that much. I kind of kept it mysterious last time, but this is George the Cardinal here.
Oh, George the Cardinal.
Yeah, you'll see. And you can see the top of this is really quite ornate.
Oh, they don't usually get to see all the detail.
No,
there.
and it has a little bow at the back and a little flower. It's fantastic. It was made in Greenfield Village, part of the Henry Ford.
Support Greenfield Village.
Christina Jansen, she says, Cyrano,
you
win the hug from me, or from both of us if you like, afterwards.
Fantastic.
Actually, you win it anyway because you're super awesome for all of the work that you've done.
Oh my gosh,
we know this. Yes.
Just bringing up the YouTube comments, just make sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah, Jennifer says hello.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you're on Facebook. Excellent.
She's on YouTube there.
Great.
And I'm on Facebook too.
Awesome. So, our podcast recommendation of the week, because every week we recommend a podcast. This week we're recommending Amy Peikoff's None of the Above, a weekly podcast she holds on Friday afternoons with the irrepressible James Stevens Valliant, author of Creating Christ.
Yes.
And The Passion of Ayn Rand's Critics.
Yes.
Most recently, their show, they were interviewing Dr. Jareggi and Dr. Diamond of COVID-19.expert. And this is a testing company in California.
Yes.
and they are establishing themselves to do tests on private property so that when folks are ready to go back to work, they will be there to give people the assurances they need to make that happen.
Yes, that's such a great, powerful interview, and you all need to see it.
Yes.
It gives me hope.
So if you're not already subscribed to Amy Peikoff's YouTube channel and her two shows, None of the Above and Don't Let It Go, make sure you do that. You can search for Amy Peikoff or just look at the show notes, because we always put our notes in the show notes.
Yes.
To make things easy for you. Well, this week, we wanted to talk about, there's an old riddle. An airplane crashes on the border. Let's make it the border between the United States and Mexico.
All right.
An airplane crashes on the border, and half the passengers are killed. Very sad. Yes. But the question is, they landed right on the border. Where do they bury the survivors? I wonder.
That's a great question. Maybe somebody in the
somebody in the chat will know the answer.
Know the answer.
We'll keep one eye on that.
Where do they bury the survivors?
And this gets into the topic we want to discuss this week, which is allies and the friendly fire that our allies have been taking recently. Because the bottom line, we should be treating our allies better than we treat our enemies. Because life's too short for that nonsense.
Your sister Abby got it.
Did she?
Yeah, she did. She says they do not bury survivors.
They don't bury the survivors. That's excellent.
And I must say that Mary Eileen also got the answer to the question about Cyrano, so
excellent.
She gets hugs.
A sage was asked, "Who is mighty?" And the answer was, that person who can control their own emotions and make of an enemy a friend.
That's no mean feat.
Classic stuff. He who is mighty can control their own emotions and make of an enemy a friend. And what I would like to discuss and to advise against is doing the reverse of making your allies into your adversaries.
Okay.
I know, Amy, you've made some notes about this too.
Yeah, actually.
Would you like to begin our discussion?
So basically, Robert and I were doing simultaneous notes, and we both came upon a lot of the same principles because apparently we have some sort of special secret power.
We do. It's horse sense. Oh, wait, that's something else.
So, yeah, I titled this as How Do You Keep the People on Facebook Whom You Love and Like, how do you keep them to be your friends even after all of this contentious issues and debating and people, it's contentious because people both love the ability to have freedom and go out and work, and people also love the fact that they don't have COVID virus. Which value do I take? You can only have one or the other, actually. You can have either one. And both at the same time, or try to at least.
So we're talking about this in the context of the present pandemic, or is it broader than that?
It's basically the present pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and but actually it is broader than that. So you've got all sorts of interesting controversies that come up and people debate and such, and oftentimes, sadly, it ends in unfriending folks. And so I came up with some principles. Hopefully, it won't go too long, but basically, understand and keep in context why you like a person, why you love a person, why you admire them. Keep that in mind at all times. Most of the time when we go on Facebook, we want visibility, we want validation from our friends, and it's wonderful when your friends, you present something to them and they're like, "Oh, this is the best. This is the sage. You are the master of all wisdom, and we love you." And it's such a great feeling.
Yeah, I get that every time. Every single time, that's the reaction.
So basically, conflict arises when the definition is one person has a need of another person, and that need is not being met. So that validation, that visibility, that love and admiration and praise is just not there. And so that is basically the need. So sometimes, And I have to admit, I'm going to open up a little bit emotionally here for all you folks.
Vulnerability.
Ooh.
Don't do it.
Ouch.
It'll end up in all the papers tomorrow, and you won't be able to take it back.
Sometimes, you might find this in yourself too, maybe, perhaps. Sometimes I feel insecure. Sometimes,
no, it's just you.
Yeah. And, I might be procrastinating. Something's bothering me. I might be beating myself up for some reason that I haven't yet articulated in my own mind. The par for the course of being a human with conceptual, conscious, and emotional mechanisms, right? So then I go on to Facebook. And
best place.
I throw myself into an argument.
Yeah.
What
could be healthier for your psychology than bringing your issues to Facebook?
Totally no, it doesn't. It totally stresses me out. And honestly, what it is it gives me a momentary illusion that I'm engaging in purposeful action. It basically helps me keep procrastinating because then I feel like I'm actually doing something about something when I'm really not. So basically, I came up with some ideas for what do you do when you've got friends who you may not agree with. You see them post something and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how uninformed they are. That's a strange air of knowledge that they have. And so you think, is this friend open to my contrary viewpoint? If so, what's the best way to approach them to clarify what their viewpoint is, and how do I express my viewpoint in a friendly and potentially convincing way? Well, the first thing, and this is something, honestly, I got to be totally honest here.
Honestly,
I need to follow this advice more because I am not perfect with this. It gets a little crazy. So one thing I might consider, and perhaps you might too, if you're feeling really angry about something, just open up Word or Notepad or get a pen and paper and write down in all of your anger and frustration what your viewpoint is. Leave it for an hour or so, come back to it, and then see if you can't find a way to actually, convey that message in a different way. And so another point is to use empathy. So try to put yourself into your friend's place, their emotional and contextual shoes. What are they doing? How perhaps they're feeling insecure. They're on Facebook looking to find a way to make themselves feel like they're actually doing something, and they're just procrastinating on something perhaps, or they might be feeling vulnerable. They might be feeling insecure. They may need a lift. Maybe they need something that is, they figured something out. They're writing it down, and now they want a big hurrah and a big parade. And then somebody like, some idiot like me comes in and says, oh no, you're wrong. And boy, is it a bummer.
Now, Mary Aline offers a pro tip that fits in with yours. She says, eat your feelings, chocolate.
Yes. Chocolate, not Facebook, right? Yes. But sometimes, you've got to understand that other person it may not be, currently in an emotional and mental state to actually see your viewpoint whatsoever. They're, especially during these times, people are much more fragile, much more vulnerable, much more they just need a little boost.
And the interesting thing is they don't come to you saying, oh, I'm fragile. Mm-hmm. They come to you saying, "Arr!" And you're like, oh, they're not fragile, they're just being mean.
I know all the answers, people.
Yeah, that too.
And but we all do this simultaneously, and it's
especially men. Men are not fragile.
No. Made of steel. No. You are always right.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you've got a friend who is feeling really hurt or offended, really the best thing to do is stop the conversation, go on to Messenger, try to open up to them, apologize. And especially if you were the one, if they posted some glorious, grand integration of problem-solving genius, and then you go and criticize them, especially in that situation, if it doesn't go well, it goes south, you know what, get off at the wall, go on to Messenger and apologize and just say, listen, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to give you such added stress today. And I apologize for that. Just that, just to acknowledge it.
So you could apologize for your approach even if you were right about the issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Because no topic is worth giving other people stress over. It's Facebook is a terrible way to communicate oftentimes. And because it's not face to face, you don't know what their tone is. You don't know if they're being sarcastic even. Who knows,
Is it completely worthless?
No, it's not.
So you're saying we just need better strategies?
We need better strategies.
Okay.
Yes, and there's ways to do this, and also if you're coming away from a negative conversation, don't beat yourself up for being negative or messy or berating yourself because you couldn't solve other people's problems. So it just doesn't. It's not good for you. And really, so everyone is on their own journey. I've said this, I don't know how many times on this show. People don't always have to ride on the same train. And honestly, it's not a mortal sin to unfriend somebody. It's not a terrible thing. It's not your world crashing down if somebody unfriends you. Seriously. You may actually meet up later on. And it's going to be all right. They're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. And really, instead of looking for fights, I don't know, if you're really, really concerned about somebody who is perhaps uninformed quite greatly, you might go onto Messenger and just say, hey, you might want to consider perhaps this article or perhaps this viewpoint. I don't mean to cause you any stress, but here it is. And really, what you really want to do on Facebook, you want to compliment people. You want to praise them. You want to give them that visibility. If you care about them, you love them and admire them, and you want to be friends with them after this, give them a little boost. Compliment them. And again, I'll end with this. Really understand in your own mind explicitly why you like that person, why you love them, why you admire them, because that's going to help you keep context. So there's my speech for today.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That didn't even take up 5 minutes.
Good.
Well, you've covered a lot of what I would like to say.
Yes, because we are of one Nasir mind.
So can we just go make Easter dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do have a couple of more things that I'll throw out there.
Yeah, you have a few.
Because I was making notes. I was going through a book by Bob Burg called Adversaries into Allies. Why? I can't even read my own notes. Adversaries into Allies win people over without manipulation or coercion. It's a pretty good book. Like anything that I didn't write, I don't agree with everything in it. The perfect book will be, well, anyway. So Burg gives 5 principles, and there's some value to gain from a quick look at these. The 5 principles that Burg gives in turning adversaries into allies. Mm-hmm. Control your own emotions. Understand the clash of belief systems. Acknowledge their ego. Set the proper frame. And communicate with tact and empathy. And there are 100 points to this. I'm just going to bring out the ones that I think are important, relevant to a general audience, and that offer more than strategy but wisdom. Mm-hmm. So under control your own emotions, you need to respond versus react. So you want to respond with content, not react with emotions.
Okay.
Verbal attacks will happen. Not that you're going to ever verbally attack someone, but verbal attacks will happen. So be ready for them and respond to them rather than react to them.
So responding to them means having a clear idea in mind, perhaps one that has I statements in it, if anybody knows what I mean out there, perhaps something that is not going to put them on the defensive?
Well, yes. The point is respond with content
Okay.
rather than emotion. Always be calm. And what I took from this, rather than exactly what Burg means, should communicate from a position of mastery. Not just a mastery of your subject, which you should have, and the confidence that comes from that, but mastery of yourself. Again, mastery of your own state of mind so that you can respond with content, not with conflict. Under understanding the clash of belief systems, what I highlighted from the book, realize that we all have integrated belief systems and seek first to understand the other's belief system. It's very easy to say, well, he's wrong, so he should just listen to what I say.
Right.
You're not going to get very far with that. And it's not just because the other person's irrational, but because that's no way to communicate with anyone about anything. And here's something with some real power. This isn't unique to Burg. I've been hearing this in lectures for decades. Accept that you are responsible for what they hear. If they are not getting your point,
that's really tough.
It's because you did not figure out how to frame it in terms that they can accept the meaning of.
Wow. That's difficult, but perhaps not impossible.
Well, there are two takeaways you can take from that. One is, does that mean if he doesn't get my point, I should feel bad or feel guilty or feel like I failed?
Yeah, I've been there.
And that's not the point.
Okay.
The reason you take responsibility for whether they get your message or not is because A, it's true, and B, it puts you in the driver's seat.
Okay.
It puts you in the position of power, the position of mastery, because now you can do something about it. If you decide every time somebody doesn't understand you, well, people are just stupid, or he's just evasive,
or I'm the victim,
you have no power.
Right.
And that's never true. You are driving this bus, not the other guy. So never give up your position in the driver's seat of the conversation. Real quick here, acknowledge their ego. The writer says, never embarrass someone, it serves no purpose. That's true. And there was an interesting thread about mockery on my Facebook wall recently.
Yeah, it's very
worth
good.
taking a look. Because it helped to delineate, well, when is it right to just laugh at somebody? And when is it time to step back from that and say, no, I need to keep engaging with the actual content of the discussion?
Yes.
Be an impartial judge versus a jealous attorney. In objectivist circles, we talk about, well, judge and be prepared to be judged.
Yeah.
But a judge is impartial. A judge is not emotional. The attorneys can be passionate and even reckless, but the judge's job is to be impartial and focus only on the facts.
And dispassionate, and just focus on what is.
That's right.
Instead of, you said the jealous attorney, meaning somebody who is kind of...
concerned about fragile egos.
I see.
Concerned about how they look. Concerned about winning the argument versus actually communicating with the person.
Right.
So look for common ground versus the areas of disagreement. It's the only way you're going to bridge the gap. Recognize when somebody's doing something right. Say thank you and I appreciate you. Again, we're talking about disagreements with allies. These aren't your enemies. There may be times to do that with your enemies too. Premise of this book is turning your adversaries into allies. Set the proper frame. Set positive expectations for the discussion. And act on that. You're not setting positive expectations so the other guy can be snared. You're setting positive expectations also so that you yourself have a productive discussion.
Okay.
Find your common ground quickly. And then there's some conversational skills that are valuable in this context. For example, do your best to explain their position in terms they would agree with. If you can't state your opposition's position, you don't know your opposition's position.
It's very true.
And it's foolish to be arguing against it until you've reached that point.
So that's the kind of thing of taking their position, putting it to your own words, and then seeing if they actually agree with that statement.
Right.
Because then you both have an understanding of what the issue is.
That's right. And you can get somewhere. Real quick, the last section, communicate with tact and empathy. Tact is the language of strength. empathy is strength because it is that much more a grasp of both the topic and the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's power.
That's
real power. That is an element of mastery.
I love empathy. I can do it.
And conversationally, use lead-in phrases. Say things like, I'm wondering, or I'd like to know more about.
Mm-hmm. Again, the I statements.
And let them know that they have a back door. They have an out.
Mm-hmm.
What some call saving face.
Yeah.
That, you talked about how you can leave a discussion for an hour and regroup your thoughts.
Yes.
You can also offer that to the person with whom you're having the discussion.
Absolutely. You can
give them an out.
Yeah, we don't have to actually come to a solution here. We don't have to fix the world and fix the internet right now.
And one thing I would say is, because this might sound a little wishy-washy,
mm-hmm.
the author is very clear. It's one of the highlighted things here. Never sacrifice your principles. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. None of this is intended to say, oh, well, you're saying something really wicked, but that's okay.
Right.
Or I bow to you in any way.
Right.
These are all, again, about communicating with your allies and never, if you're going to win in the name of your principles, mm-hmm. you need to be able to communicate effectively.
Right. Well, going back to that, there's the distinction that Ayn Rand made about errors of knowledge versus errors of evasion.
Yes. Once you've decided somebody's evading,
right.
Why are you discussing? Why are you arguing?
Exactly.
Again, that's not what we're talking about.
Yes.
And then there's one last tip that I like because it's an old one. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Mm-hmm. So spend more time listening than speaking.
Yes, our Mary Aline says, listen more than you talk.
Oh.
Yes, she does.
She's way ahead of me. Oh, my gosh.
Beat us to the punch.
That's right. Great minds think alike.
John Enright says, one Nasir mind. Great quote. It's actually a very silly quote, but thank you.
So my recap and takeaway is, for folks who say, well, I argue a lot and I get in pissing matches online, but mm-hmm. it's only Facebook, it's only Twitter. And I would say that perspective is a failure of goodwill. It's a failure of objectivity. But what I wrote here is it betrays a failure to take your own time and your own values seriously.
Yes.
Even in recreation,
mm-hmm.
even if it's just casual fun, you should be gaining some value.
Yes. So you should be gaining some actual value from Facebook, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
And again, if these are Facebook friends of yours especially,
right,
or real-world friends of yours,
mm-hmm.
and frankly, I don't think there's a difference.
Exactly. Honestly, I've made so many wonderful friendships on Facebook, and then I go and I see them at conferences or however, and it's just so delightful.
So my takeaway is, even your casual allies deserve to be treated as allies. And you deserve this yourself. You deserve to be able to take that stance.
Yes.
To have that degree of dignity and respect for your own relationships. You deserve that.
Yes. You do.
Yes.
You deserve to have you deserve to invest in yourself in terms of making sure that your thinking is clear, that you're being reasonable, that you're reality based, that things actually do make sense, gives you lots of confidence and keeps you from beating yourself up.
Well, that too. But really, I'm gonna hammer this as the last point here.
Uh-huh.
Your allies are your allies.
Yes.
This was actually not part of the notes for this, but it's sitting on my scrap paper.
Ooh.
A is A.
A is A. Is A is A is A. That's a song by John Hett.
That's right. And sort of us. Actually, this was a scrap paper for my Post-it note of the week, but mm-hmm. A is A. Your allies are your mm-hmm. allies. If you're not treating your allies like allies, cut it out.
Right.
Think twice about that.
Well, ask yourself who they are. Really, who are they to you?
Yeah.
I mean, why do you love, like, and admire them?
Or why are they even casual friends?
Mm-hmm.
If they're even just the most casual and remote of Facebook friends, and that means almost nothing to you, it means that much.
Yes.
If they are your allies, treat them like allies.
Mm-hmm.
If they're on your team, even if you disagree about something and it's kind of a big deal, don't forget, they're on your team.
Yes.
It's insane the way we just throw friends in the dumpster like they're disposable.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So, bottom line, allies are allies. A is A. Act accordingly. And now I'm going to move on.
Can we talk about my hat again?
We can. But first...
Yeah?
Oh, is somebody talking to you?
Your mom says...
My mom says...
Yes. Is your hat alive?
Is your hat alive?
Yes.
My mother, of all people, should be able to appreciate a fine hat. And then again, the cardinal was, that's a very realistic cardinal on that other hat.
Actually, it's quite...
George, you said?
George.
George.
And
I know somebody with a cat named George.
And he looks totally realistic.
That's right. Well, he is, yeah.
He is.
But no, Mom, he's not alive.
And my hat is only alive in your dream, in my dreams.
Wait a minute. That means my mother is watching this.
Yes.
I better watch my language. So, as I started saying 5 minutes ago, Post-it note of the week. Post-it note of the week is give that which you most wish to receive. Old wisdom. You give what you want. You give what you wish to receive. Now, in the personal sphere, I would say give love if you want love. Give foot rubs if you want foot rubs. Give the thing you want to get back. But in the context of today's discussion, if you want to have respect from your friends, give respect. If you want decorum, set decorum.
Yes.
If you want even just a reasonable and civil conversation that respects the people involved, be that guy. Take charge. Set the standard.
I've got to be that guy.
Or girl.
No, seriously, I've got to be that person.
Yes.
Have to get better at this, folks.
That's right. So your homework assignments, and we have 2 this week. We had 2 last week, so I thought we'd have 2 this week.
Yeah.
Your homework assignments. Find a moment of weakness or self-indulgence, especially on the internet or with a friend in person, but as it relates to today's discussion, and replace that weakness, replace that self-indulgence with mastery. And if it helps, you can do what I've done, which is make a Post-it note that just says, mastery.
Mastery.
I find that word causes me to focus better, focus more, clarifies things for me. So, number 1, find a moment of weakness or self-indulgence and replace it with mastery.
And what does that look like exactly?
Well, if I find myself knowing I'm right, and so I've got to make this point. Somebody is wrong on the internet, and I've got to fix it. And then I recognize that in myself. Oh, that's the kind of thing I tell other people. Yeah, don't waste your time with that.
Yeah.
Then to take a position of mastery, even when the word hits my brain, say, oh, wait, mastery. Immediately I find myself sitting up straighter. My eyes are open a little wider, but my head is down, so I have a serious focus. Like, oh, this is not what I want.
Okay.
This is not what the best version of me would be doing right now. Remember, our Post-it note of the week, second week, I think, was WWID. What would I do?
Right.
In other words, what would I do if I was in a position of mastery, if I was at my best? And I find that very clarifying.
That is
so
clarifying.
Put it on a Post-it note if you like or not, but that's your first homework assignment. Find a moment of self-indulgence or weakness and replace it with mastery.
I think we have a second homework assignment here.
We do have a second homework assignment.
Cool.
We did give the podcast of the week. You need to be listening to Amy Peikoff and James Valliant on Fridays. But a second recommendation I have is go visit Jean Moroney's Thinking Directions website. Jean Moroney Binswanger is an extraordinary life coach.
Yes.
She gives out all sorts of great information and ideas and tips and tricks and strategies, well thought out psychological strategies for free. The kind of stuff you could pay a life coach $75, $100 an hour for.
Right.
And most recently, she released an essay called Inoculating Yourself Against Depression.
Inoculating yourself against depression.
That's focused specifically on the challenges we're going through right now with this pandemic and all the outrageousness that's both surrounding us and being imposed on us. And it's an essay worth reading, not just as it applies to the present situation, but like all of her material applies to life in general.
Yes.
So go read that. Jean Moroney Binswanger's Thinking Directions website.
Yep.
Do a search on Google, you'll find it, but it will, as always, be in the show notes as well.
Yes.
We'll get those updated online tonight. Might take a little longer than usual. We're making Easter dinner right after the podcast.
We're going to have...
What are we going to have?
Homemade au gratin potatoes
with
real potatoes, not packaged. And a beautiful spiral sliced ham with some sort of candy coating.
Real honey and brown sugar.
Yes. And
if you're jealous, you should be.
One of the things that I was doing in my research with regard to Facebook etiquette, somebody said, don't be a braggart on Facebook. Don't talk about how you're so blessed and how well your life is going. And I thought to myself, what? No.
But don't you want to inspire people?
You want to inspire people. You want to talk about how wonderful your life is going. Of course, if it's actually not truthful, then don't post it. But if it is truthful and you have earned what you have and you want to tell the world that you just love it.
It's a challenge to share your good fortune and still be gracious.
Yes.
You don't want to tell people, oh yeah, my new car and my 7-figure salary and my... If you know they're going through hard times in that regard.
That's true.
There's something to be said for
there is.
Not restraint, but tact.
Right.
I think we mentioned tact earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I got a tact in my foot. So, has it been 5 minutes yet? Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Again, I want you to be good to yourself, but I want you to be good to your allies. Bottom line, we should be treating our allies better than we do our enemies. And for all the reasons, because life is too short for that nonsense.
Yes, life is too short not to have some peeps and a Cadbury cream egg, everybody, right. Even if you don't like it.
Who bought you that horrible sugary stuff? So as always, reminders, show notes will be added to the podcast after the show. Mm-hmm. You can find us online at facebook.com/Robert Nasir, youtube.com/Robert Nasir. And for those of you who want to support the show, and I have to say thank you to 2 new patrons this week.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Makes everything worth it, plus some.
Thank you.
Patreon.com/Robert Nasir. If you're thinking, I've got $1,200 coming from the Obama stash. Oh, wait, now it's the Trump stash.
Trump stash.
Trump stash. What can I do with that money?
Can I buy a new cell phone?
I could just, take $5-10 a month and throw it at Amy and Robert.
Yes.
If you need ideas, let's
do a little trade value for value, win-win.
Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm. I just need the money. So thank you once more for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
You are the best. You are absolutely the best.
I just want to say, we got a lot of wonderful comments here. We got Linda Cordair of Cordair.com.
Oh my gosh, go to Cordair.com. Get art.
Get art. Absolutely. Jenny B.
Or just get inspired on their website. It's amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, wow.
Oh, all the best people.
Yeah.
We have,
Catherine?
I forget who it was. One of the talk shows used to say, the best radio audience in all of broadcast. But you guys really are the best.
There's even more people. I mean, I don't know. Should I take
don't
more
do the
time?
names. Some people might want privacy.
I guess. Okay.
Or not. I don't know. Maybe we should take a poll. Let us know in the comments section on Facebook.
Oh, Mary Aileen says, how about PayPal in addition to Patreon?
Oh, goodness. Well...
Yes.
Yeah, PayPal's great. I forget what my PayPal address. I think it's. I'll publish it. I'll put it in the show notes. And thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
We may also have Vimeo, which is the same company. Not Vimeo.
Venmo. Yeah. No. I just need to give out my email address. I have to make sure that I have the right one. I'm sure it's robtnasir@aol.com.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
That tells you how long I've had that email address. Not just that it's AOL.com, but. Way back in the 1990s, so in the previous century, AOL screen names couldn't have more than 10 characters.
That's right.
And I've never gone by Rob or Bob, and there's
Bobby
a long story there. So it ended up being
Robbed
Nasir, ROBT Nasir at AOL.com. If you send money to ROBTNasir at AOL.com by PayPal, it will get to me.
Yes.
But anyway. Show notes. So thank you for asking. That's so sweet. Yeah, I know Patreon politically is kind of a mess.
Rebecca says AOL. Ha ha ha.
Oh, Rebecca really admires my choice to stay on AOL. That's great. Thank you, Rebecca. I see the admiration. LOL must stand for something.
Love.
Lots of love. Yeah, I'm sure that's
love.
it.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kick it old school. That's right.
So here's what I want to say before I click the button that cuts the wires that end this podcast.
Oh, so sad.
You, and here I mean you, the person listening to this, you are our ally. Mm-hmm. And we are committed to treating you like an ally.
Yes.
So thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
We wish you success. We wish you flourishing. We wish you strong alliances. Mm-hmm. And we wish you love.
And at a time that you can't give us hugs physically, this is the next best thing. So thank you.
Thanks.